You have been lied to your entire life. Not by your enemies, not by the system, not even by the people who claim to love you. You have been lied to by the voice inside your head that tells you showing weakness is brave, that expressing every emotion is honest, that transparency equals authenticity. That voice is not your friend. It is the software installed in you by a society that benefits from your confusion, your emotional incontinence, your predictable responses to their invisible strings. Today, we are going to perform surgery on your social operating system. We are going to identify and remove the 9 psychological tumors that mark you as prey in every room you enter. But understand this before we begin. Once you see what I am about to show you, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand the machinery of human manipulation, you will notice it everywhere. In your workplace, in your family, in your romantic relationships, in every casual conversation at the coffee shop. You will see the hooks, the bait, the traps laid for the unwary. And you will realize with growing horror how many times you have walked directly into them, smiling, thanking your captors for the chains they placed around your wrists. This is not a motivational speech. I am not here to pump you up with temporary confidence that will deflate the moment you face real resistance. I am here to show you the brutal architecture of social power, the hidden rules that govern who rises and who gets crushed, who commands respect, and who becomes a useful idiot for those who understand the game. The philosopher kings of human nature, men like Niccolo Machiavelli, Marcus Aurelius, Robert Greene, understood something that modern psychology desperately tries to hide from you. The world is not fair. It is not kind. It does not reward your good intentions or your pure heart. It rewards strategic thinking, emotional control, and the disciplined management of your public image. You are not a precious snowflake deserving of celebration simply for existing. You are a player in an ancient game, whether you know it or not, and right now, you are losing. Every day, you engage in behaviors that strip away your power, that mark you as low status, that invite predation and exploitation. You do these things because you were taught they were virtues. Openness, emotional expression, seeking validation, apologizing for your existence. These are not virtues in the real world. They are submission signals. They are the social equivalent of a gazelle limping in front of a pride of lions. The lions do not admire your courage in showing your injury. They simply note that you will be easier to kill than the others. Here is what most self-improvement content will not tell you. The reason you feel anxious in social situations, the reason you lie awake replaying conversations and cringing at what you said, the reason people seem to talk over you or dismiss your ideas, is not because you need more confidence. Confidence is a feeling, and feelings are downstream from behavior. You feel powerless because you are behaving in ways that communicate powerlessness. You are sending signals, tiny micro-communications that you do not even notice, that tell everyone around you exactly where you rank in the hierarchy. And right now, you rank low. This is why changing your external circumstances rarely changes how you feel. You can get a new job, move to a new city, find a new relationship, but if you carry the same behavioral patterns with you, you will recreate the same dynamics. The aggressive colleague who talks over you, the friend who subtly puts you down, the romantic partner who seems to lose respect over time, these are not random occurrences. They are responding to the signals you are broadcasting. You are teaching people how to treat you with every interaction, and you have been teaching them that you are safe to dismiss, safe to interrupt, safe to exploit. The 9 behaviors we are about to examine are not random. They form a system, an interlocking set of habits that collectively create what we might call a leaky persona. Imagine your sense of self, your inner world, your plans and fears and vulnerabilities as a fortress. Now imagine that this fortress has 9 gates, and all 9 gates are standing wide open. Anyone can walk in. Anyone can see what you are thinking, what you are planning, what hurts you, what controls you. You have no defenses, no privacy, no mystery. You are psychologically naked in a world full of people looking for someone to use. Machiavelli wrote The Prince not as an instruction manual for tyrants, but as a survival guide for leaders navigating a world of betrayal, assassination, and constant threat. His advice seems harsh because the world he inhabited was harsh, but here is what contemporary readers miss. Our world is no less harsh. It has simply become more subtle. The daggers are now words. The poison is now social exclusion. The battles are fought not with armies but with information, status, and psychological leverage. And you are walking onto this battlefield unarmed, announcing your position, revealing your weaknesses, practically begging to be conquered. This is going to stop. Today. Right now. By the time you finish listening to this, you will understand exactly which behaviors are destroying your social power. More importantly, you will understand why you engage in these behaviors, what psychological needs they are attempting to fill, and how to fill those needs in ways that build your fortress rather than tear it down. But I need to warn you about something. Once you implement these changes, people will notice. They will ask what happened to you. They will say you have changed, and they will not say it as a compliment. They will feel unsettled because you are no longer playing your assigned role in their psychological drama. You were the person they could vent to, the person who always apologized, the person who could be relied upon to react emotionally and predictably. Now you are something else, something controlled, something opaque, something that does not give them the responses they have been conditioned to expect. This will create distance. Some relationships will not survive your transformation. The people who benefited from your weakness will not celebrate your strength. They will attempt to pull you back down, to shame you for becoming cold or distant or arrogant. They will weaponize your old values against you, telling you that the old you was more authentic, more real, more human. Do not listen to them. They are not concerned with your authenticity. They are concerned with their access to you, their ability to predict and control you. What they call authentic, Machiavelli would call controllable. Before we examine the 9 behaviors, you need to understand the fundamental principle underlying all of them. In social interactions, there are exactly 2 types of people: those who reveal and those who observe, those who perform and those who direct, those who seek validation and those who grant it. You have been trained since childhood to be a revealer, a performer, a validation seeker. Every institution you passed through, from kindergarten to corporate orientation, rewarded you for sharing, for expressing, for being transparent about your thoughts and feelings. Gold stars for participation, praise for vulnerability, promotion for being a team player who fits in and does not make waves. But here is what they did not tell you while they were training you to be an open book. The people who succeed, the people who accumulate real power and influence, are doing the exact opposite. They are watching you reveal yourself while they reveal nothing. They are studying your reactions while maintaining perfect emotional control themselves. They are gathering intelligence on your fears, your desires, your triggers, your weaknesses, while presenting a carefully curated facade that gives away only what serves their interests. This is not sociopathy. This is strategy. There is a profound difference between the two, and if you cannot see that difference, you will remain forever at the mercy of people who can. A sociopath lacks empathy and cannot genuinely care about others. A strategist possesses empathy but chooses carefully when and how to express it. A sociopath sees people as objects to be used. A strategist sees people as complex beings worthy of respect, but understands that respect in the real world is not freely given. It is earned through demonstrated value and maintained through boundary enforcement. The distinction matters because you are not learning to become a manipulative predator. You are learning to stop being prey. You are learning to recognize the game board so you can play the game consciously rather than being played by it unconsciously. Every single day, you are being manipulated by people who understand these principles. Your boss who gives you just enough praise to keep you working hard, but never quite enough to give you leverage for a raise. Your friend who subtly puts you down in front of others to elevate their own status. The romantic interest who keeps you uncertain about where you stand so you continue investing effort without commitment. The social media platforms designed to hijack your dopamine system and turn you into an engagement machine. These are not accidents. These are applications of well-understood psychological principles, and you are the subject of the experiment. So let us begin the deprogramming. Let us examine the 9 ways you are currently broadcasting your vulnerability and teaching the world to exploit you. First, you announce your plans before you execute them. This seems innocent, even positive. You are excited about a new business idea, a fitness goal, a creative project, a major life change. You want to share that excitement. You want people to know what you are working toward. You tell your family at dinner. You post about it on social media. You mention it to colleagues. You are seeking encouragement, validation, social support. What you are actually doing is diffusing the very energy you need to accomplish the goal. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon extensively. When you talk about your intentions, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurochemical that gets released when you actually accomplish something. You get a small hit of the reward feeling without doing any of the work. This tricks your motivation system. Your brain thinks you have already made progress simply because you talked about making progress. The desire to act diminishes because you have already received some of the social reward you were seeking. But the damage goes deeper than simple neurochemistry. When you announce your plans, you create accountability to other people's opinions rather than to your own standards. Now you are not just trying to accomplish the goal for yourself. You are trying to prove something to everyone you told. If you fail, you will not just experience private disappointment. You will experience public humiliation. This added pressure often becomes paralyzing. You become so afraid of being seen as a failure that you either give up before really trying, or you engage in elaborate self-sabotage that gives you an excuse for why it did not work out. Even worse, you have now given potential competitors advance warning. In business, this is obviously foolish. You do not announce your strategy to your competition, but even in personal domains, you have friends and family who are not pure supporters. They have their own insecurities, their own envy, their own investment in you remaining at your current level. When you tell them about your plans to level up, you activate their fear that you will leave them behind. Consciously or unconsciously, they will begin to undermine you. They will ask questions designed to plant seeds of doubt. They will bring up obstacles you had not considered, not to help you prepare, but to make you anxious. They will share stories of people who tried something similar and failed. They will do this while smiling, while claiming to be realistic or protective or helpful. What they are actually doing is trying to keep you in your place because your growth threatens their sense of stability. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote that if you wish to accomplish something significant, you must conceal your intentions until the moment of execution. Let your enemies, and he was clear that you have enemies even among those who smile at you, let them learn of your success after it is already accomplished, when it is too late for them to prevent it. The billionaire moves in silence. He does not announce he is developing a new product. He releases it. The athlete does not post daily updates about their training regimen. They show up to the competition in peak condition, and everyone wonders how they got so good. The person transforming their life does not seek permission or encouragement from people who have not transformed their own lives. They disappear into the work and they re-emerge different. Consider what you are really seeking when you announce your plans. You are seeking assurance that the plan is good, that you are capable, that people will think well of you for trying. All of these are forms of asking permission from external authorities. You are still operating like a child showing a drawing to a parent and asking if it is good. You are outsourcing your self-belief to people who have no stake in your success and often have an unconscious stake in your failure. Stop asking. Stop announcing. Stop seeking the applause before the performance. Let your results speak. When someone asks what you have been up to and you have genuinely been working on something significant, try this response. Just staying focused, just handling some things, just working on myself. Notice how these answers give nothing away. They acknowledge the question without providing ammunition. They maintain mystery, and mystery is magnetic. People respect what they cannot fully understand or predict. When you finally reveal what you have accomplished, the impact is exponentially greater because it arrives as a surprise rather than as the expected conclusion to a story everyone has been following. They cannot dismiss it as luck or downplay it as something they knew you could do all along. It simply appears fully formed, undeniable. Second, you complain about your problems to anyone who will listen. This is perhaps the most socially acceptable form of self-destruction. Our culture has created entire industries around the idea that expressing your pain is healing, that talking about your struggles is brave, that sharing your burden lightens it. This is only partially true, and the part that is false will destroy you if you do not understand the distinction. Yes, there is value in processing difficult emotions. Yes, suppressing everything until you have a breakdown is unhealthy. But there is a massive difference between strategic vulnerability in a safe container with people who have earned the right to hear your struggles, and broadcasting your complaints to the general public. When you complain in public, at work, on social media, in casual social gatherings, you are not healing or processing. You are status signaling, and the status you are signaling is low. Think about how you feel when someone you barely know starts unloading their problems onto you. Your boss is terrible. Their relationship is falling apart. They are so tired. Everything is so hard. Do you feel drawn to this person? Do you want to spend more time with them? Do you respect them more for their honesty? Or do you feel slightly repelled, burdened, eager to extract yourself from the conversation? Be honest. You feel drained by them. You start to associate them with negativity. When you see them coming, you look for an escape route. This is the natural human response to chronic complainers. We are biologically programmed to move away from weakness and toward strength because, in ancestral environments, aligning yourself with weak individuals lowered your own chances of survival. That programming still runs in your nervous system, whether you acknowledge it or not. When you complain, you are advertising that you cannot handle your life, that circumstances control you rather than you controlling circumstances, that you are a victim. Victims do not get promoted. They get pitied, managed, and eventually discarded. Victims do not attract high-quality romantic partners. They attract either predators who see someone easy to control, or rescuers who will eventually burn out on trying to fix someone who presents themselves as perpetually broken. Victims do not command respect from their peers. They become emotional dumping grounds, the person everyone vents to but nobody actually listens to when it matters. Here is the deeper manipulation happening when you complain. You are attempting to transfer your emotional burden onto the listener. You are trying to make them feel bad so you feel less alone in feeling bad. This is a parasitic transaction. You are not offering value. You are extracting it. Over time, people begin to avoid you not because they are unsympathetic, but because they have their own problems and they do not need yours added to the pile. The Stoics understood this principle 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, faced with constant war, political betrayal, plague, personal loss, wrote in his private journals that complaining does not change anything except to make you weaker. He directed himself to focus only on what he could control, to endure what he could not control with dignity, and to never burden others with grievances about his fate. This was not toxic masculinity or emotional suppression. This was sovereignty. This was the recognition that how you carry your suffering determines whether you are destroyed by it or forged stronger by it. Now, I am not suggesting you become a robot incapable of expressing difficulty. What I am suggesting is that you become ruthlessly selective about when, where, and to whom you express it. You need one, maybe two people in your life who have proven themselves trustworthy, who genuinely care about your well-being, who are capable of holding space for your struggles without using them against you later. These might be a therapist, a mentor, a truly loyal friend, a committed romantic partner. With these people in private, you can be real, you can process, you can be human. To everyone else, you present the mask. The mask is not fake. The mask is the public face of your private struggle. It says, I am handling this. It says, I am in control even when I am not. It says, I am not looking for your pity or your rescue. The mask is how you maintain your dignity when your life is falling apart. And there will be times when your life falls apart. The question is whether you fall apart with it, or whether you hold the center while everything around you burns. There is tremendous power in being the person who never complains. People start to assume you have it together. They start to treat you as someone capable and strong. And here is the strange alchemy of human psychology. When people treat you as capable and strong, you start to become more capable and strong. Not because their perception changes your objective abilities, but because their perception changes the opportunities they offer you, the respect they show you, the way they interact with you. You get access to better networks, better information, better resources because people want to associate with strength. They want to be near the person who seems unshakable. So even when you are struggling, when you are uncertain, when you are afraid, your public presentation must be calm, collected, moving forward. You can acknowledge challenges without dramatizing them. I am working through some things. It is a process. I will handle it. These responses acknowledge reality without surrendering to it. They communicate that you are engaged in problem solving rather than drowning in victimhood, and they protect your status. Third, you lose your temper in public. Anger is one of the most natural human emotions, and also one of the most socially destructive when poorly managed. When someone disrespects you, cuts you off in traffic, insults your work, betrays your trust, the rage that rises in your chest feels righteous and necessary. You want to explode. You want to make them feel the intensity of what they have done. You want them to know they cannot treat you this way. So you yell, you argue, you send the angry email or text message. You make a scene. And in that moment of explosion, you feel powerful. You feel like you are finally standing up for yourself, finally refusing to be a doormat. But you are wrong. What you have actually done is demonstrate to everyone watching that you can be controlled. You have shown that your emotional state is dependent on other people's behavior. You have revealed your trigger points, and anyone paying attention now knows exactly how to manipulate you. If they want you to look irrational and unstable, all they have to do is push that button and watch you explode. Consider two scenarios. In the first, an employee makes a serious mistake that costs the company money. The manager screams at them in front of the entire office, face red, voice shaking with rage. Everyone is uncomfortable. The employee is humiliated but also resentful. The other employees make note that this manager is volatile, unpredictable, someone to fear but not respect. In the second scenario, the same mistake occurs. The manager calls the employee into a private office. The manager's voice is quiet, almost too quiet. The manager explains the consequences of the mistake with perfect calm, maintains eye contact that never wavers, and concludes with a simple statement. This cannot happen again. Fix it. The employee leaves shaken, not by volume but by the controlled intensity, by the sense that they disappointed someone who expected better. The other employees, learning of the incident later, make note that this manager is not to be tested. Which manager has more power? Which one would you rather disappoint? The screamer is emotionally incontinent, a child throwing a tantrum. The quiet one is dangerous, fully in control, capable of calculated response. The screamer might create compliance through fear, but they will never create loyalty or genuine respect. The quiet one creates a culture of accountability and excellence, because people know that disappointing them means facing not rage but something worse. their controlled disappointment, their strategic withdrawal of approval. Machiavelli advised that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, but he also warned against being hated. The problem with losing your temper is that it generates contempt, and contempt is a close cousin to hatred. When you explode, people do not fear your power. They fear your instability. They see you as someone who cannot be trusted with real authority because you cannot even control yourself. This applies across all domains of life. In romantic relationships, the partner who maintains emotional control during conflict has all the leverage. The one who screams and cries and threatens is giving away their power, showing their desperation, revealing that they need the relationship more than they need their dignity. In professional settings, the person who stays calm when everyone else is panicking becomes the natural leader. People look to them for stability, for guidance, for the sense that someone knows what they are doing even in chaos. In competitive situations, the athlete or performer who maintains ice-cold focus while their opponent melts down under pressure wins not just the immediate contest, but the psychological warfare that determines future encounters. Learning to control your anger does not mean suppressing it or pretending you do not feel it. It means developing the capacity to feel intense emotion while choosing how and when to express it. This is emotional discipline, and it is one of the most important skills you can develop if you want to operate at a high level in any domain. When you feel anger rising, the first step is to pause. Do not speak. Do not act. Simply feel the sensation in your body. Notice the heat in your chest, the tension in your jaw, the acceleration of your heartbeat. Observe it as if you are a scientist studying an interesting phenomenon rather than being consumed by it. This creates separation between the emotion and your identity. You are not an angry person. You are a person experiencing anger. The second step is to ask yourself what outcome you actually want. Do you want to win this argument? Do you want to change this person's behavior? Do you want to maintain your relationship with them? Do you want to be seen as someone in control? In almost every case, exploding in anger moves you further from these outcomes rather than closer to them. The yelling might feel satisfying in the moment, but it will not get you what you actually want. The third step is to choose a response that serves your strategic interests. Sometimes this means saying nothing at all, letting the other person's poor behavior hang in the air unaddressed, giving them space to realize they have crossed a line. Sometimes it means lowering your voice instead of raising it, speaking more slowly instead of more quickly, making the other person work harder to hear you rather than overwhelming them with volume. Sometimes it means postponing the conversation entirely. I need to think about this before I respond. We will discuss it tomorrow. This is not weakness. This is strategic delay. You are buying time to craft the most effective response rather than defaulting to the ineffective response of emotional reactivity. The person who masters this skill becomes genuinely formidable. They do not need to threaten or bluster or make a show of their power. Their power is evident in their restraint. Everyone around them understands at a subconscious level that someone who can control themselves that completely, who can remain unmoved by provocations that would make others lose their composure, is someone who should not be tested. They might be holding back not because they are weak, but because they are choosing to hold back. And the unknown capacity of what they might do if they stop choosing restraint is far more intimidating than any amount of visible rage. Fourth, you apologize when it is not necessary. This behavior is so deeply embedded in many people, especially those socialized to be accommodating and non-threatening, that they do not even notice they are doing it. Sorry, can I just squeeze past you? Sorry, I have a question. Sorry to bother you. Sorry, I think I might have a different perspective on this. The constant apologizing is a verbal tick, but it is not meaningless. Every unnecessary apology is a small transfer of status from you to the other person. You are saying that your presence, your needs, your thoughts require their forgiveness. You are framing your existence as an imposition that must be excused. Over the course of a day, you might issue dozens of these micro-submissions. Over the course of a year, thousands. You are training everyone around you to see you as apologetic, uncertain, low status. You are literally programming their unconscious perception of you through repetitive linguistic signaling. And the cruelest part is that you think you are being polite, considerate, respectful. You think that apologizing makes you easier to work with, more likable, less threatening. Sometimes this is true in the very short term with people who are secure and generous. But in the broader ecosystem of human interaction, particularly in competitive environments, your constant apologizing marks you as prey. It signals that you do not believe you deserve to take up space, to have needs, to disagree. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you do not believe you deserve these things, others will not believe it either. They will feel entitled to interrupt you, to dismiss your ideas, to expect you to accommodate their needs while they ignore yours. The correction is simple to understand but difficult to implement, because it requires you to fight against years of conditioning. You must distinguish between apologies that are ethically necessary because you have caused harm or broken a commitment, and apologies that are status signals you have been trained to deploy reflexively. When you are genuinely at fault, apologize once sincerely and then take action to fix the situation. The apology should be clean and complete. I was wrong to do that. I apologize. This is how I will make it right. Then you follow through. You do not grovel. You do not repeatedly bring it up. You acknowledge the error, make amends, and move forward. This kind of apology, issued rarely and only when deserved, actually increases your status because it demonstrates accountability and integrity. But for everything else, for the daily interactions where you are simply existing in the world and occasionally needing something or disagreeing with someone, you replace the apology with either nothing or with a simple statement of fact or gratitude. Instead of sorry to bother you, you say, do you have a minute? Instead of sorry I am late, you say, thank you for waiting. Instead of sorry but I disagree, you say, I see it differently, or here is another perspective. Notice the psychological shift. The first version asks for forgiveness and positions you as having done something wrong. The second version makes a request or states a fact without self-flagellation. You are not debasing yourself. You are simply operating as an equal. This feels uncomfortable at first because you have been rewarded throughout your life for being apologetic. The discomfort you feel when you stop over-apologizing is actually proof that you are breaking a pattern, that you are refusing to play your assigned role as the accommodating one who never makes waves. People who have benefited from your constant apologizing will push back. They will accuse you of being arrogant, cold, difficult. They will tell you that you have changed and not in a good way. This is a test. They are attempting to shame you back into your old pattern because your old pattern served their interests. It allowed them to impose on you without guilt, to dismiss your needs without pushback, to treat you as subordinate without having to explicitly claim authority. When you stop signaling submission, they lose this comfortable arrangement. Hold firm. You are not being arrogant. You are being appropriate. You are treating yourself with the same respect you have always extended to others. If this makes some people uncomfortable, that discomfort is revealing something important. It is revealing that the relationship was never balanced. It was predicated on you staying small so they could stay comfortable. Fifth, you reveal your financial situation, whether high or low. Money is the most emotionally charged topic in human society, more charged even than sex or politics, because it represents survival, status, and freedom all at once. Every conversation about money is actually a conversation about power and worth. When you tell people how much you make, how much you have saved, how much you spend on something, what you can or cannot afford, you are giving them information they will use to categorize you and often to exploit you. If you reveal that you are struggling financially, several things happen. Some people will feel pity, which immediately places you in an inferior position in their mental hierarchy. They will begin to offer unsolicited advice, make assumptions about your capabilities, and unconsciously write you off as someone who cannot be relied upon for certain opportunities because you lack resources. Other people will feel contempt. They will assume your financial struggles are evidence of poor decisions, laziness, lack of intelligence. They will not ask about the circumstances that led to your situation. They will simply file you under failure and treat you accordingly. Still others will feel relief because your struggles make them feel better about their own situation by comparison. You become a measuring stick for their self-worth, the person they point to when they need to feel grateful for what they have. None of these responses serve your interests. If you reveal that you are doing well financially, you trigger a different but equally destructive set of responses. Envy is perhaps the most corrosive emotion in human psychology. It is the feeling that someone else's gain is your loss, that their success diminishes you. When people know you have money, they begin to resent you for it unless they have more than you do. They will start to attribute your success to luck, to advantages you did not deserve, to exploitation or moral compromise. They need to believe this because accepting that you succeeded through merit or effort would require them to confront their own choices and limitations. The envious person rarely attacks you directly. Instead, they engage in subtle sabotage. They spread rumors. They exclude you from social opportunities. They undermine your reputation in small ways that are difficult to confront directly. They hope to see you fall not because your fall benefits them materially, but because your fall would ease their psychological discomfort at your success. Machiavelli devoted significant attention to the problem of envy. He warned that showing your wealth, your success, your advantages too openly creates enemies who will work tirelessly to tear you down. The wise person, he suggested, maintains a certain modesty in public presentation not because they are ashamed of their success, but because they understand that discretion is protective. The truly wealthy do not need to announce their wealth. It is evident in subtle ways to those who know how to look. The quality of their clothes rather than the visibility of brand logos. The ease with which they handle situations that require money without drawing attention to the expenditure. The calm confidence of someone who has resources and knows they will be fine regardless of what happens. This quiet wealth is far more powerful than the loud displays of new money, the luxury cars parked in front of modest houses, the designer bags carried by people who can barely afford rent. Loud displays of wealth are almost always compensation for insecurity. They scream, "I made it, look at me, validate me." This desperation to be seen as successful reveals that the person still derives their self-worth from external validation, which means they are still operating from a position of internal poverty, regardless of their bank balance. The same principle applies in reverse. If you are genuinely struggling, there is no benefit to broadcasting that struggle. It does not create sympathy that translates into opportunity. It creates pity that translates into dismissal. Your goal, if you are in financial difficulty, is to appear stable and competent while you work to improve your situation. This does not mean lying about your circumstances if directly asked by someone who needs to know, like a potential landlord or creditor. It means not volunteering information that will limit how others perceive you. You dress cleanly and appropriately for your environment, even if it means owning 3 good outfits and rotating them rather than a closet full of cheap clothes. You maintain your appearance, your hygiene, your presentation. You speak about your work and your plans with confidence even if you are uncertain. You project stability even in instability because perception shapes reality in human social systems. When people believe you are capable and trustworthy, they offer you opportunities. When they believe you are desperate and failing, they avoid you or attempt to exploit your vulnerability. The strategic approach to financial discussions is to reveal nothing specific while appearing comfortable and unconcerned. When someone asks what you paid for something, you smile and say, "I got a fair deal," or "it was within my budget." When they ask what you make, You say, enough to keep me busy and invested in my work. When they probe your financial situation more aggressively, you recognize the probing as either envy or predation, and you deflect with humor or with a direct boundary. I keep my finances private, but I appreciate your interest. This might seem evasive, but it is actually respectful. You are respecting yourself by maintaining appropriate boundaries, and you are respecting the other person by not forcing them to deal with their envy or pity, emotions that would poison the relationship. The only people who need to know the details of your financial situation are your accountant, your financial advisor if you have one, your romantic partner if the relationship is serious enough that you are making shared financial decisions, and perhaps a trusted mentor who is helping you develop financial literacy. Everyone else gets the diplomatic version, pleasant and vague, revealing nothing that can be used against you. Sixth, you gossip and speak badly about others. This behavior is so normalized in many social circles that people do not recognize it as toxic. Gossip often masquerades as bonding, as sharing concerns, as processing frustrations. You complain about a colleague to another colleague. You tell your friends about someone's relationship drama. You share speculation about why someone got promoted or fired or divorced. In the moment, it feels like connection. You and the person you are gossiping with are allies, sharing secret knowledge, agreeing on your assessment of the absent third party. But you are actually destroying your own credibility and revealing your untrustworthiness to anyone paying attention. Think about the mechanics of gossip from the listener's perspective. When you tell them negative information about someone else, what are they learning? They are learning that you cannot be trusted with sensitive information. They are learning that when they are not around, you will probably talk about them too. They are learning that you are willing to betray confidences and spread rumors for the minor social reward of feeling included in the conversation. The wise listener smiles and nods while you gossip, but they are filing you away as unreliable, as someone who cannot keep their mouth shut, as someone who should never be trusted with anything important. The person who gossips is the person who gets excluded from the real conversations, the important decisions, the inner circle. This is true in every social system from middle school friend groups to corporate boardrooms. The people with actual power do not gossip promiscuously because they understand that information is currency. When you spread information freely, you devalue it and you devalue yourself. The strategic approach is to become a black hole for information. You listen to everything. You remember everything. You say almost nothing. When people come to you with gossip, you listen without confirming or denying, without adding your own commentary, without spreading it further. This makes you powerful in ways the gossip can never understand. First, people will begin to trust you because you have demonstrated the capacity for discretion. They will tell you things they would never tell the office gossip because they know it will not end up as entertainment in the break room. This gives you access to better information, earlier information, information that can help you make better decisions about your own career and relationships. Second, you become the person who actually knows what is happening rather than the person who thinks they know based on third-hand rumors. Gossip is almost always distorted. By the time a piece of information has passed through 3 people, it bears little resemblance to the original truth. The person who relies on gossip is operating on corrupted data. The person who goes directly to sources or who withholds judgment until they have real evidence is operating on reality. Third, you avoid making enemies unnecessarily. When you speak badly about someone, you are creating negative karma that will eventually return to you. That person will hear what you said. Someone will tell them. They always do. Now you have an enemy, someone actively rooting for your failure, someone who will block your opportunities if they get the chance. And you created this enemy for no good reason, just for the minor dopamine hit of shared contempt with someone who probably does not even care about you that much. Machiavelli was clear on this point. If you must destroy an enemy, do it completely and do it in a way that cannot be traced back to you. Half measures create resentful enemies who will strike back, but gossip is not even a half measure. It is a quarter measure, a petty complaint that accomplishes nothing except making you look small and making the target aware that you are a threat. The powerful move is to say nothing negative about anyone in public ever. When others gossip to you, you respond with neutral statements that neither confirm nor encourage. That is interesting. I had not heard that. I prefer not to speculate. These responses shut down the gossip without making you look judgmental toward the gossiper. You remain neutral, unreadable, someone who cannot be recruited into petty conflicts. If you genuinely have a problem with someone, you address it directly with them or you cut them out of your life quietly. You do not campaign against them behind their back. You do not try to turn others against them. You simply stop giving them access to you, and you move forward with your life. This level of discretion is rare, which is exactly why it is valuable. In a world where everyone is running their mouth, the person who knows how to stay quiet becomes magnetic. People are drawn to them because they sense, even if they cannot articulate it, that this is a person who can be trusted, a person who has their act together, a person who is focused on their own path rather than being distracted by other people's drama. Seventh, you explain and defend your personal philosophy or lifestyle choices. This is a more subtle error that often affects people who are genuinely trying to improve themselves. You have discovered something that works for you. A diet that makes you feel better. A spiritual practice that brings you peace. A political philosophy that makes sense of the world. A morning routine that increases your productivity. You are excited about this discovery. It has changed your life. Naturally, you want to share it. So you start talking about it, explaining it, recommending it to others. You want them to experience the same benefits, but notice what happens. The moment you start evangelizing, people push back. They argue. They point out exceptions. They tell you about someone who tried that thing and it did not work. They accuse you of being extreme, obsessed, preachy. Why this resistance? Because humans are status-conscious creatures, and being told how to live by someone they perceive as a peer feels like a status challenge. You are implicitly saying that your way is better than their way, which means their way is worse, which means they are worse. They cannot accept this, so they must reject your philosophy or find flaws in it to protect their self-image. Additionally, when you explicitly state your code of conduct, you create a standard by which others will judge you. I never eat sugar. I always tell the truth. I work out every single day. These absolute statements paint a target on your back. People will watch for the moment you slip, the cookie you eat, the white lie you tell, the workout you skip. When they catch you in the gap between your stated ideals and your actual behavior, they will pounce. Not because they care about your integrity, but because your failure validates their decision not to try as hard as you are trying. Your hypocrisy, real or perceived, lets them off the hook. The Machiavellian approach is to live your principles without announcing them. Let your behavior be the demonstration. When someone asks why you are not drinking at a party, you do not launch into a speech about the neurotoxic effects of alcohol and your commitment to optimizing cognitive function. You simply say, I do not feel like it tonight, or I am good with water. You give them nothing to argue with, nothing to mock, nothing to use against you later. When your philosophy is working, it will be evident in your results. You will be healthier, calmer, more productive, more successful. People will notice and they will ask. Then and only then do you share, and even then the strongest argument for any way of life is the life itself, not the explanation of it. Marcus Aurelius kept his philosophical journal private, never intending it for publication. It was found after his death and became one of the most influential texts in Western philosophy. But during his lifetime, he did not preach Stoicism to his court. He embodied it. His advisors and generals saw him face catastrophe with calm, make difficult decisions without being paralyzed by emotion, treat people with justice even when it would have been easier to be cruel. They did not need a lecture about Stoic principles. They saw the principles in action. This is the model you should follow. Become the evidence. When you are genuinely living according to principles that work, your life becomes a silent argument that is far more persuasive than any words could be. People will be curious about the source of your discipline, your peace, your success. They will ask. And when they ask, you can share, knowing that they are actually receptive rather than defensive. Eighth, you seek validation and approval from others. This is the root beneath all the other errors. Every behavior we have discussed, announcing your plans, complaining, losing your temper, over-apologizing, revealing your finances, gossiping, defending your philosophy, all of these stem from a desperate need for external validation. You announce your plans because you want people to tell you it is a good idea. You complain because you want people to acknowledge your suffering and tell you it is not your fault. You lose your temper because you want the other person to know they hurt you and you want them to care. You apologize constantly because you want to be seen as considerate and likable. You talk about money because you want to be seen as successful or want sympathy for struggling. You gossip because you want to bond and be included. You explain your philosophy because you want to be seen as intelligent and principled. All of it is performing for an audience, seeking their applause, their sympathy, their agreement, their approval. And as long as you need these things from other people, you are not free. You are a puppet and they hold the strings. They can make you dance by threatening to withdraw approval. They can control you by controlling whether you get the validation hit you are craving. Machiavelli understood that the prince must be self-contained, must make decisions based on strategic necessity rather than on whether those decisions will be popular. The leader who needs to be loved will be manipulated by anyone who figures out how to give or withhold affection. The leader who is indifferent to being loved, who cares only about being effective, cannot be controlled in this way. This does not mean you become a sociopath incapable of love or connection. It means you get your sense of self-worth from internal sources rather than external ones. You define your own standards and you measure yourself against those standards. Did you do what you said you would do? Did you act according to your values even when it was difficult? Did you maintain your composure when you wanted to react? Did you treat people fairly even when you could have exploited them? These are the only questions that matter. If the answer is yes, then you can sleep well regardless of whether anyone praised you today. If the answer is no, then all the praise in the world is hollow because you know you fell short of your own expectations. The transition from external validation to internal validation is perhaps the most important psychological shift you can make. It is the difference between being a child and being an adult, between being ruled and being sovereign. Children need constant feedback from parents. Did I do good? Are you proud of me? Do you love me? Adults have internalized standards and no longer need constant external input. This is why confident people are so attractive. Not because they are loud or boastful, but because they are clearly not performing for approval. They know their worth independent of your opinion. This is magnetic because it is rare. Most people are starving for validation, and they instinctively recognize and admire someone who is not hungry in the same way. To develop this internal locus of validation, you must first identify where you are currently seeking external approval. Notice the moments when you check for reactions. You tell a joke and immediately scan faces to see if people are laughing. You share an accomplishment and watch to see if people seem impressed. You make a decision and look to others to confirm it was the right choice. Each of these moments is an opportunity to practice self-validation instead. You tell the joke because you found it funny, and whether others laugh is irrelevant to your enjoyment. You acknowledge your accomplishment to yourself privately, knowing you hit the standard you set. You make the decision based on your analysis, and you commit to it regardless of whether others would have chosen differently. This is uncomfortable at first because you are withdrawing from a drug you have been addicted to your entire life. You will feel the absence of validation like a physical craving. You will be tempted to fish for compliments, to create situations where people have to acknowledge you, to measure your worth by external metrics. Resist this temptation. Sit with the discomfort. The discomfort is withdrawal, and withdrawal means you are breaking free. Over time, something remarkable happens. You stop caring what people think, not in a nihilistic way, but in a liberated way. You make decisions faster because you are not paralyzed by trying to predict how others will judge you. You take bigger risks because the fear of looking foolish no longer controls you. You cut toxic people out of your life because you do not need their approval to feel okay about yourself. And paradoxically, as you stop seeking validation, people start offering it more freely. They sense that you do not need it, which makes you more attractive, which makes them want to give it to you. But by then, you do not care, and that indifference makes you truly free. Ninth and finally, you reveal your vulnerabilities and deep fears in public. We have been sold a lie by contemporary psychology that vulnerability equals strength, that sharing your trauma is healing, that authenticity means having no filter between your internal experience and your external presentation. There are contexts where vulnerability is appropriate and necessary. In intimate relationships built on years of trust, in therapy, in carefully chosen friendships with people who have proven their loyalty and discretion. In these private containers, yes, be real, be vulnerable, let yourself be fully seen. But the public sphere is not a therapy session. Social media is not a safe space. Your workplace is not a support group. When you broadcast your deepest insecurities, your trauma history, your mental health struggles, your relationship failures to a general audience, you are not being brave. You are handing weapons to your enemies and teaching them exactly where to strike you. Information is power, and the information about what hurts you, what scares you, what you are ashamed of is the most powerful information someone can have if they want to control or destroy you. When you tell people you have abandonment issues, you have told them that threatening to leave is the fastest way to make you panic and capitulate. When you share that you are insecure about your intelligence, you have given them the script for undermining your confidence. When you reveal your past failures and humiliations, you have provided ammunition for anyone who wants to make you look foolish or unqualified. The Machiavellian observer listens to your confessions with sympathy and files them away for future use. This person is not necessarily evil. They are simply strategic. When conflict arises later, when they need leverage, they will remember what you told them and they will use it. Not because they hate you, but because humans are self-interested and will use available tools to get what they want. You volunteered to be vulnerable, which means you volunteered to be exploited. The corrective is not to become a closed-off robot incapable of human connection. The corrective is to be strategic about who sees your wounds and when. Integrate your shadow privately. Do your therapeutic work with a professional. Process your trauma in contexts specifically designed for that purpose. When you emerge into public life, you wear your armor, not because you are fake, but because you are strategic. Not because you are ashamed, but because you are protected. The public version of you is the role you play in the social theater, and that role requires you to appear capable, stable, in control. This is not dishonesty. This is appropriate boundary management. You do not owe strangers or casual acquaintances access to your psychological interior. Keep your wounds covered until they have scarred over. Then, if it serves a purpose, you can share the scar as a teaching moment, as proof that you survived something difficult and came out stronger. But never share the open wound. Never bleed in public and expect sympathy. You will attract sharks. If you implement these 9 principles, you will feel yourself changing. You will speak less. You will react less. You will reveal less. People who knew the old you will ask what happened, why you have become so quiet, so distant, so different. They will pressure you to return to your old patterns because your old patterns were comfortable for them. Your openness gave them entertainment. Your struggles made them feel better about their own lives. Your emotional reactivity gave them drama to discuss. The new you, controlled and opaque, gives them nothing to feed on. They will call you cold. They will accuse you of thinking you are better than everyone else. They will tell you that you have changed and not for the better. Let them talk. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to the person you are becoming, to the life you are building. You are learning to move through a hostile world without giving that world the tools to destroy you. You are becoming sovereign, self-contained, strategic. This is the path of power, and power is always lonely at first because you are separating yourself from the herd. But the herd gets slaughtered. The sovereign survives.